Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
This is pretty good. We've got people on both sides for the first time. We could do a little more people over here, but we've got people on each side, which is pretty excellent for the first time since 2019. I have been really blessed and honored, and the timing is actually interesting, 2019 and 2022, to have been to the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, which actually is fitting. It's the oldest church in the world. Starts with Jesus' birth. Christians have been worshiping there since the beginning. If you go there, has anybody ever been there? I know some people have. Raise your hand if you've been there. Just a handful. You have to go. You have to go at some point in your life. And if you don't go there physically, you get a good sample of it in our hymns and in the readings. But if you're able to go, I really do recommend it. The Church of the Nativity, now I've been there twice, like I said, I couldn't have gotten more opposite experiences. They were both excellent. In 2019, it was August in Israel, a little hot, and it was packed, boisterous. It was like Christmas Eve, you'd think, right? Like it just was literally wall-to-wall jammed with people. And it's called the Grotto, which is a cave on which the whole church is built. And that's the traditional place, and it's where Christians have been worshiping since 2,000 years ago. It's the traditional place of Jesus' birth. And in August 2019, it took us 2 hours in our line to make our way to the grotto. And it was worth the wait, but when you got in there, you didn't really have much time for peace. You just sort of got to see there's a 14-point star, which is laid on the ground under an altar, and you can put your hand there, and that's the traditional spot. One can easily ask, how would they know? The answer is, if it's not there, it's close enough, nearby. This year when I went, we walked in, it was snowing. It was in March, 9 months ago. 9 months ago to the day, actually. It was the eve of the Feast of the Annunciation, which is 9 months before Christmas. And our group was smaller. It was right after Israel and Palestine had opened up. And so there weren't as many pilgrims in our group, nor were there as many pilgrims in the Holy Land. And when we walked in to the Church of Nativity, out of the sort of sleet and rain and snow, it was empty. And our guide, Mead, was stunned because he'd never been in the church. He'd been doing this his whole life, empty. And so we walked to the grotto, and we were allowed to spend as much time as we wanted because there was no one there. I tell you those two stories because you encounter God in radically different ways and different times. Sometimes it's a packed house. Sometimes it's alone in your house watching the live stream because that's the best you can do, and that's good. Sometimes you're blessed to be in a full church. Sometimes you wish you weren't in a full church because the line is 2 hours to get to the grotto. And sometimes you're blessed to be in an empty church, to have it all to yourself. The key, though, is that you are present. You've taken the opportunity to be present with God. You've carved time out. That's really all a pilgrimage is. It's carving a chunk of your life out, a couple of weeks, to make a journey to be present and go deeper with God. We have a couple miniature ones in today's reading. We've got the shepherds. Mary and Joseph have made theirs already to Bethlehem, sort of a more official one. But the shepherds make the trip, and that should not be understated. They make the trip to go and see. They hear the good news, but they carve out time. They leave their flocks and they go and see. And I encourage you to think about in your own life how much time, as we celebrate Christmas, how much time do you carve out to be present with God? You know that hymn, we sung it all Advent, and the name is referenced. You know the hymn, O come, Emmanuel. Anybody know that? So, the word Emmanuel, it means God is with us. It's sort of a title for Jesus. Tomorrow on Christmas Day, we'll read the first chapter of St. John's Gospel, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And then keeps going and says, the Word dwelt among us. God is with us. God is present with us. Jesus Christ, to be kind of blunt, as he is God and he gave his whole life. He didn't just carve out a little bit. He gave his whole life to be present with us. And so I ask you on Christmas, how much time do you spend, how much time do you carve out to be present with God? It's a fair question. Sometimes it's an easy one. Sometimes it's a hard one. How does your God time match up with your work time? Or your family time? Or your friends' time? Or your fun time? Do you come to the Lord's table for the Lord's Supper as often as you go out for a really expensive meal? It's just a fair question. Sometimes when I was in seminary, one of my favorite professors said there are two types of sermons. Those that comfort the afflicted, and those that afflict the comfortable. I don't want to afflict the comfortable. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and I want to make it clear that it's so good to be here. It's so good to be in a boisterous church for the first time on Christmas in a couple of years. Think about the previous years. Think about what it means to be here. God bless you this Christmas. Remember that God is always present with you. And pray as you move into the new year how you can be present with God. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.